Put on your lab coat and pull up a chair. It's time for Science! Sci Friday on SkyWatchTV. Welcome. I'm Derek Gilbert, and in studio with me, the SkyWatchTV science advisor and my best friend, my wife, Sharon K. Gilbert.
Hi, sweetie. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Well, it's been a long time. Been a whole week.
Yeah. You know, I really find that I look forward to these Friday broadcasts.
So do I.
Not just because it's a weekend, but because, well, I get to talk to you. And because the things that we're discussing are so fascinating.
Well, that's why I majored in science. I love science. I've been really curious since I was a kid, and I find it, as a believer, even more interesting because it shows me how complicated, how complex, how amazing and organized our Lord is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, He didn't just throw something out there the way... There's a theory in evolutionary science that a great watchmaker at some point in the past created everything and then wandered away.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, it's just sort of gone to chaos. And we are what we are simply because we have adapted to the world as it's throwing things at us.
Exactly. Even down to the point of evolutionists believe evolving in a certain way to evolving a belief in God, because we somehow in our primordial state needed something to believe in to explain all of the scary things.
And it even gets into neuroscience where they claim that the things that, that they can alter your faith by playing with your mind. This is truly playing with our minds. There's a lot of propaganda out there that is intended to indoctrinate our children and our grandchildren.
Yes.
But the Lord created from His original dirt. He started with nothing, ex nihilo, and He created everything. He spoke nearly everything into being, but He actually created us with His hands, which I think is so wonderful.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
It's all part of human exceptionalism.
Yeah.
We are different. We as humans, if you take a look at the memes, the trends that we're seeing in science these days, it's robotics, artificial intelligence, finding ways to upload the mind, finding ways to self-direct our evolution.
Right.
So that we can become the next God, which I think
as gods.
Is so interesting, because you just talked to Carl Tykrib about the religion conference that took place in Utah.
Parliament of World Religions, right. And it was a really interesting gathering. Estimates range from 8,000 to 14,000 people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, but ranging from liberal Christians. You didn't find any Bible-believing Christians there, because I think one of the requirements was a belief that all belief systems lead somehow to God, even the ones that make mutually exclusive truth claims. Now, I asked Carl how there could be Christians there who believe, ostensibly, that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one gets to the Father except through Him, sharing space and linking arms with Wiccans, with pagans, with Jains, with Zoroastrians, Hindus, Buddhists, even the Imam from the Grand Mosque in Mecca.
Oh my goodness.
That surprised me. There were representatives of Judaism there, all coming together with the understanding that they're working toward the same goal. And although it sounds bigoted, but Jesus is the one who said it. I am the way. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Exactly.
If we accept Him as Lord and Savior, we have to believe that that is the truth. And while we desire, like the Lord, that no one perish but have everlasting life, unless they make that commitment to Him, they're making their own beds. And sadly, there are some Christians who are buying into this.
And not only is it moving toward a one-world religion, but as I said,
and we know
this
that's
idea
prophesied.
This idea of self-directed evolution is something that is moving toward the singularity, this moment when human hybrids, where humans hybridize with machines. I'm bringing all of this up because there were a couple of stories that came out this last week that I think are really indicative of where we're going. Most kids these days, they've got a cell phone in their hands constantly.
Right.
There is a study out now that says that kids spend more time on social media and online than they do sleeping.
That is disturbing.
You sleep, at least you're supposed to sleep about a third of your life.
Yeah.
They're spending more than a third of their lives. These are young lives. And as they get older and more entrenched in it, and it's more that we're soaking in it everywhere, that number will rise. They'll spend more and more time, and eventually we will be hooked in to the internet 24 hours a day.
Dr. Ray Kurzweil suggested that that was our destiny, to somehow, through nanotechnology, be connected wirelessly to the internet all
And
the time.
become gods, because we'd be omniscient,
Right.
according to him.
Right.
We would have access to anything when we need it, where we need it, and therefore we would be gods. He used that word. He said we'd be gods.
Yeah.
Well,
Now, the really scary thing about this, too, is that, and I saw that study, 9 hours a day on average with social media.
Yeah.
The average American child spends about 15 minutes a day with their father.
yeah. And how many times a day? Yeah, that is so tragic.
Yeah.
How many times a day is a child reading any kind of book? Just actually reading. But more so, a Christian family, are they actually reading the Bible?
Right.
Not very many. I'd say out of the 15 minutes where they're not online, that's really, or 15 minutes with a dad. You used to spend time every morning with Nicole, and the two of you bonded a great deal. And I know that those moments together where you were going through some really tough Old Testament stuff.
Yeah.
You know, she may not have understood it, but it taught her that it was important to you.
Yeah. She got kind of grossed out by some of those passages in Deuteronomy
they
and
really
Leviticus. Ew! It's like, well, the Canaanites were doing those things. That's why God said don't do it. And it was fun watching some of the light bulbs dawn, like reading the book of Galatians to her, because that's an important book in the New Testament that explains why we are no longer bound by the law of Moses once we accept Jesus Christ. But his tone in that letter was a bit... he was a bit irritated.
Yes.
And she picked up on that as a 7-year-old. He's kind of angry, isn't he, Dad?
She called him Mr. Furious.
Mr. Furious.
Which was a character in a movie at the time. Mystery Men.
Yeah.
Mr. Furious. But there are other stories that have come out about this. One of the titles, Are Humans Developing an Emotional Attachment to Robots? Here's a picture of a robot officiating, or at least participating, in a wedding ceremony. There was also a story out yesterday about whether or not you should have intimate relations with your personal robot.
Yeah.
That's something we saw that was a part of the story arc in the TV show Humans this past year.
Right. And I think a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, that's silly, that would never happen. But let's be honest here.
They're already being sold.
Exactly right. They're already being sold, life-sized robots that are very lifelike. The video that you're watching this program on over the internet, assuming that you're watching this on YouTube, or even through Roku, that's being delivered by the internet, most of the real technological developments that have led to the code that allows for streaming video was developed to serve up pornography. So why should we be surprised that the robotics industry is basically being driven in the same way,
Exactly.
for the same motives?
Exactly. But along the same line, I believe that this is reshaping us as humans.
Yes.
We're already being hybridized. There's a book
humanity is being deconstructed.
I'm writing a chapter for a book that's going to be published sometime next year that is all about that, how we're being slowly morphed into a different species.
Yes.
And it's by this technology that can be used for good or ill. It's a double-edged sword. Like many of the wonderful things that science comes up with, it can be used wrong and for bad things as well as great things. You could spread the gospel on the internet. I mean, there's so many good things you can do with it, and yet the dark stuff is what really permeates and, as you say, drives the science.
Right.
We started watching Big Hero 6 last night. And that's a little robot. There are lots of little robots, and then there's a big robot. And if you've not seen the movie, it's really cute. But the big robot is intentionally cuddly.
Yes.
It is intended to draw children to want to interact with a robot at home.
Right.
Because I was watching that movie and thinking, I want one of those little guys. He seems so sweet.
Yeah.
Then I thought, wait a minute.
Yeah. That's one of the problems with the transhumanist movement. One of the issues that we discuss, that is discussed in the forthcoming documentary film Inhuman, who programs the artificial intelligence that powers the robot or that powers the supercomputer that interfaces with us? Who programs it for morality? On what basis do they judge morality? This is a question that a lot of thinkers in the transhumanist movement are asking, those who are not Christian, in fact. How do we program human ethics into a machine? But the bigger question is, then who decides what is human ethics, what those human ethics are?
Precisely.
Is the human a Bible-believing Christian? Is the human a member of the Islamic State? Both could say they possess human ethics, but there is such a range of behavior that falls underneath that you can't define it so broadly. But
Well, here's the other problem. If you, let's say you could, in a perfect world, program a computer with a human ethic that we would consider positive.
yeah, Judeo-Christian morality. For
Exactly. That artificial intelligence would certainly have access to other computers, would
Yes.
have access to the internet, would see what's really going on in the rest of the world, how humans are really behaving. Because that ethic is within that computer, it would probably say, well, these people have to die.
Yeah, the quickest solution to resolving the conflict between my ethics and the ethics that these people possess is to kill them. That's from the movie Eagle Eye, the computer that is
Yes.
the national security brain. Actually, and if you haven't seen the movie, it's worth watching because it gives you a glimpse of what might take place. The machine decides that the cabinet of the United States, that everyone in the cabinet, including the president, is a threat to national
Yeah,
security.
gotta go.
And the only one worth saving is the Secretary of Defense, who's not part of the plan. It's just this computer made that decision. You're right. So that kind of illustrates the problem. How do you program a computer for morality, and on what basis will that autonomous artificial intelligence make those decisions?
As humans, we have a difficult time teaching, if you want to say programming, teaching our children
Yes.
to behave according to a certain set of moral
Right.
rules. If we have trouble teaching another biological entity that, imagine trying to make the black box the big question mark in between the input and the output of an artificial intelligence. To know for sure what is in there.
Yes.
You can't. So it would be impossible to know how an artificial intelligence would look at us down the road and what decisions it might make. But that assumes that it cannot be inhabited. And that's something I've talked about for a long
Right,
time.
right.
That it's very possible that it could become a construct, a fit extension
Right.
for habitation by a demonic entity.
Yeah, in short, that a supercomputer could become the image of the
Of the
beast.
beast,
Yeah,
exactly.
and again, I'll say this again. I think this fascinating that E.W. Bullinger, 100 years ago, now the man who came up with the gospel in the stars,
Yeah.
after hearing about some of the work of Nikola Tesla and an artificial brain, speculated that an artificial brain, a supercomputer, someday might be the image of the beast. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Well,
but sadly, those in the transhumanist movement tend to think that science is a moral good. Science is morally neutral. It depends on
Exactly.
who uses it and how it's used.
Exactly. A little bit of a left turn, but it's sticking with tech. There is a camera that you can now buy. It's a Kickstarter campaign. You can supposedly, I say supposedly because I don't know the people who have started the campaign. You never know when you contribute to something like that if it's really going to be a product that is created down the road. But if you kick in $111 now, you get for half price a little camera that looks like a little bitty owl with big owl eyes.
Oh, I see.
That they sort of droop when the battery's running down, and they're really alert and follow motion. They follow whatever's going on. So supposedly this is the new way to have security in your home. The nanny cam or the outside cam. You want to see what's going on. One time recently, you went out in the middle of the night with our dog, and he suddenly took off after something that was out there.
Coyote,
if
we
we
think.
had
Yeah.
some kind of a motion-activated camera, we might see all sorts of wildlife
Yeah.
that we really don't want to know about in our yard. But
Something's digging holes out
the
there.
thing is, and I'm going to show you, sweetie, this picture. It's, well, if I can get it to come up.
Personal watch owl?
Yes. And I think the fact that it's an owl is really interesting. See it right there?
Oh, yeah. That's cute. My mom
Yeah.
would want one of those.
I know. We will put, Derek will put that little video behind us so you can see what it is he's seeing. But it's cute as a button. And if you do need something like that, it's a great idea. But again, you don't know when these are produced, A, if they're really going to be produced. So putting in the money now might never see it again. But B, you don't know what software's in there.
Right.
You don't know who's got access to that data.
Right, exactly. Is it interconnected to the, it is connected to the web?
Well, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, like that new product put out by Amazon called the Echo.
Yeah.
Yeah, which listens to you all the time, and you just say, Alexa, and ask it a question. Or the same with your phone. If you've got one of those personal assistants on the phone, you've got Siri, you've got Cortana. Facebook is coming out with a new one
They
now.
have
They call
to listen
M.
all the time because
Right.
we have to listen for those keywords when
Right.
you want us.
Yeah, exactly. And that information is shared with somebody. Incidentally, I just saw this, and sorry to surprise you with this, but just an observation. Windows 10 It's been discovered by some folks who dug under the hood and looked at the terms of agreement. Windows 10 basically tells you in the terms of agreement that they're sharing all kinds of information, personal information off your computer, and you can't shut it off.
Well, that's not a big surprise.
No.
Windows 10 has really narrowed the things that you can do to personalize it. It keeps serving up stuff to you. I'm still using 8, but and I'd rather have Macs anyway. But the fact is, you and I have a lot of computers in our home. We're not tech phobes or anything like that. We really love technology. It's just we can see, because we use it, we can see the possibilities of abusing it.
Yes.
The Trans-Pacific Partnership treaty is going to be signed soon, I'm sure, even though no one's read it. By the way, that was posted to the internet today, so if you want to read it, if you want to read 2,000 pages,
of the TPP,
yeah, you can do that, and it's all legalese, you know it is. So it will be difficult, just wading through the legal implications of one paragraph could be difficult. But I am sure that there are aspects of the internet, of spying, of data sharing, of keeping track of who owns what, copyrights. All of that will be in there too. So this is going to affect us.
In many, many ways, right. It is a document that will legislate through regulation. It's legislation through regulation.
Yeah.
We're not voting for any of this, but because the president's signing it and Congress has abdicated its responsibility to approve the treaty, the non-governmental tribunals that will rule on disputes will basically take precedence over American courts.
Oh, very much so, yeah. It's sort of like the Law of the Sea Treaty that I don't think ever really got ratified enough.
No, but same principle.
Within this, I also want to talk about really quickly, because we're running out of time, DARPA is moving forward with biometric ID, but it's more than just your face and your prints. It's how you type.
Oh.
This is something that if you're on websites that are secure, to make sure you are you, the software will not only get your password, probably, look at your image if it can through the camera, but also will listen and will watch how you type, because it will be determined you have a certain pattern, certain pressure on the keys, the way you move your fingers around a board. It will determine if it doesn't think you're you based on how you're typing, and let's say you sprain your hand.
Right, yeah.
And you're typing funny that day, it's going to ask you more security questions.
Right.
And if it doesn't, if you can't prove you're you, you might find someone arriving at your door.
Yeah. Well, that relates to a story that I saw earlier this week and talked about earlier this week. The United Nations has announced it's developing a global biometric identity database that it wants to have in place in Geneva, Switzerland by 2030. They're launching it to track the movement of immigrants right now, refugees.
That's what we're being told.
That's what we're being told. They said it's for them to know who is moving where, for them to follow. They can allocate resources. It's very technocratic in that regard. But when you start doing a little research into biometrics, you find out that they're not as secure as we're being told they are. You can fool a fingerprint scanner. You can steal somebody's fingerprints from by hacking their phone, or just by getting a picture of their finger. They've also found that you can fool iris scanners, which are supposed to be foolproof, with a high resolution image from Google Images.
Yes.
So the next step, of course, is then to tell people, in order to make sure, as we move toward a cashless society, which we also talked about this week, Sweden is getting rid of cash, and that's just the first step. In order to make sure that our accounts are absolutely positively secure, they want to make sure that, okay, no more iris scans, no more fingerprint, no more voice authentication. We're going to make sure that you have a mark here or here.
That's where it's going.
Yep.
And in many ways, this refugee crisis in Europe is leading to that naturally.
Yep.
And there will be many people who will scream for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need to know where these people are. In fact, Germany's just about ready to have civil war.
Yeah, Angela Merkel is getting a lot of criticism. There are other nations in Europe that are really unhappy with Germany. Hungary has closed its borders. There are other nations that are threatening to do the same. And, it is a mess, but crisis is what the elites will use. Crises are what the elites use in order to compel us to do what they want us to do.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Praise God,
But
he's still in control.
Amen to that, yes. Well, again, we do this because just a reminder that we as Christians don't need to be afraid of science. We also need to be aware of how science is fundamentally transforming life on this earth. And that's why the documentary Inhuman, The Final Phase of Man is Here, is forthcoming. It's just over a week away. November 17th is the release date. And more information on how you can get a copy and all that you'll get when you order a copy coming up in just a minute. Until then, thanks for watching as we keep watch. For Sharon Gilbert, I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.
Coming exclusively from SkyWatch TV for a very limited time starting November 17th, 2015. When you purchase the new documentary film Inhuman and the companion book Dead Pets Don't Lie from SkyWatch TV, you'll receive the largest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history. An unprecedented $300 in free books, audio sets, and DVDs to add to your library or to give away as gifts during this holiday season. Included in this limited time giveaway are never before offered free audio sets. Over 30 hours of the most sought after interviews in history with global experts combined on a special 2-disc volume set discussing the unfolding genetic Armageddon now underway and what you need to know to survive the future. Featuring Something Transhumanism This Way Comes, The Coming Replacement Humans, The Days of Noah, The Coming Zombie Apocalypse, Conspiracy Theory, Psychotronic Warfare. Also, for a very limited time, in addition to the never-before-offered free best-selling audio sets, if you order before this special offer expires, you'll also receive the multi-part SkyWatch TV special investigative report on Inhuman the documentary and Dead Pets Don't Lie, the award-winning book Forbidden Gates, Pandemonium's Engine, the best-selling DVD by dog behavior expert Joe Ardis, The Natural Dog Training Method. The breakthrough book for pet enthusiasts everywhere, Do Our Pets Go to Heaven? 2 additional mystery books with a $40 value. And if you're one of the first 3,000 customers to place your order during this limited time offer, you will also receive, absolutely free, the groundbreaking WorldNet daily film The Last Pope featuring Tom Horn. Place your order beginning November 17th, 2015. Altogether, the never-before-offered free 6 full audio series on a 2-disc volume set plus the 5 free books and 2 additional DVDs total an astounding $300 giveaway to add to your library or to give away as gifts during this holiday season. So it's urgent that beginning November 17th, 2015, you order the new documentary film Inhuman and the companion book Dead Pets Don't Lie for only $39.95 to also receive the largest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history. But please understand this offer will end without notification and is on a first-come, first-served basis starting November 17th. So be sure to visit SkyWatchTV.com to follow the countdown to the greatest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history. Order the new documentary film Inhuman and the companion book Dead Pets Don't Lie for only $39.95 to also receive the largest giveaway in SkyWatch TV history.